My fiancé and my brother have hated me for 10 years, convinced that I bullied the girl they liked, Jasmine, and at my engagement banquet, they exposed my crimes to the world. She is just a scum who bullies classmates. In the live-streamed video, Jasmine smiled through tears. I don't blame her anymore. Looking back, the light boat has passed through thousands of mountains. She became an overnight sensation. I, however, was condemned by everyone, attacked with acid by extreme fans, and in despair, perished with her. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my senior year of high school. Jasmine was pouring water over her head while smiling and asking me, "Have you figured out how to apologize to me yet?" I went mad on the spot. I grabbed her by the hair and dragged her into the bathroom, pressing her into the stall. "Let me teach you what real bullying is. With such a filthy mouth, make sure to clean it up before tattling." Chapter 1. About the last memory of my past life. It was the excruciating pain of sulfuric acid splashing into my eyes. I endured the immense pain and found Jasmine being protected by my brother in my blurred vision, then grabbed the cake knife and rushed over, stabbing it into her chest. "Let's go to hell together." Opened my eyes again. The exceptionally clear scene before me made me pause for 2 seconds, until I saw, not far away, a much younger Jasmine. She was wearing a faded school uniform, turning on the faucet to pour water over her head. While pouring, she smiled and asked me, "Do you think they'll believe me or you?" I suddenly realized. So it was this day, the beginning of my past life, being accused of bullying her. Seeing me standing there dumbfounded, Jasmine's smile deepened. "Have you figured out how you're going to apologize to me, miss?" New and old grudges surged in my heart. I rushed over, grabbed her hair, and dragged her into the bathroom. Amidst her sudden, piercing screams, I pressed her entire face into the pit. "You think a little cold water is enough to frame me? Come, I'll personally show you what real bullying is." Jasmine struggled like crazy, her arms flailing like they were powered by motors. Yet she couldn't break free from my grip. I could only bury my face in the dirty water, uttering muffled sounds. "Eulalia, let me go." Glug. Ugh. I looked up and laughed heartily. "With such a dirty mouth. Remember to clean it up a bit before complaining later. Whether this is a return to the past or a post-death illusion, it doesn't matter." I went completely insane. Chapter 2. In my past life, I died on the most glorious day of my life. That day, I won my 3rd Best Actress award, wore a haute couture dress, and stood at a grand engagement banquet broadcasted live across the internet with my childhood sweetheart fiancé Ethan. Then he announced to everyone, "I will never get engaged to someone who bullied classmates in high school." In my incredulous gaze, Jasmine walked out from the audience, with tears in her eyes. She looked up and smiled. "Eulalia, do you remember me?" "Jasmine, the one you bullied for 10 years. You probably never imagined that one day I would stand on equal footing with you. But it's okay. I no longer blame you." Looking back, the light boat has passed through thousands of mountains, broadcasted live online. She became an instant sensation. Before I could react, a bunch of reporters arranged by my brother and Ethan rushed in and surrounded me. "Miss Liu, I heard you still maintain the habit of bullying newcomers on set. A few days ago, someone photographed you going to the hospital for a gynecological checkup. Is it because your promiscuous lifestyle led to a venereal disease?" An extreme fan rushed out from the crowd and threw the acid in their hand at my face. "Bitch, go die." The liquid splashed over, and the overwhelming burning pain clung to my face. My vision never cleared again. Falling from heaven to hell happened in an instant. Chapter 3. Coming back to my senses. I let go, watching Jasmine collapse to the ground, barely conscious. That innocent and pure little face was full of filth. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, cry, scream. "Go ahead and tell the whole world that I bullied you with this face." The tone suddenly rose. I thought of the pain of having my features dissolved by acid in a past life and stomped on her face twice more. Only then did I turn and leave. Under the school building, my deskmate Anna was waiting for me. "The gym class started ages ago. What were you doing upstairs?" I casually said. "Oh, just bullied the new student a bit." She turned her head in shock. "What?" I said. "Marx said, when the whole world thinks you're a bully, you better really be one." Marks said that. That's not important. She and I walked to the edge of the playground and ran into Ethan. He is not in the same class as me, but everyone in the school knows he's my Eulalia's boyfriend. Ethan's gaze slid over my face, seemingly landing behind me. Eulalia, why are you so late? By the way, I heard there's a new transfer student in your class. In a past life, Jasmine would always throw dirt on me. He would always make me apologize to Jasmine and let things slide. He seemed to be on my side, but in reality, he would confirm my guilt of bullying with just a few words. Thinking of this, I unexpectedly raised my hand and slapped him. Ah. Anna was once again shocked. Ethan's expression didn't change, only his eyes turned slightly cold. As if nothing had happened, he affectionately lowered his head and rubbed his cheek against mine. What's wrong, Eulalia? Are you in a bad mood? Chapter 4. It wasn't until long after my past life that I found out. Ethan was left at an amusement park by his mother when he was a child and was taken in by an orphanage for a while. There, he met a cheerful and sunny little girl. She shared the same bed with him and gave him a candy to eat. She was the only light in his life. This light was Jasmine, and on her very first day at the new school, Ethan recognized her. He always firmly believed Jasmine's words that I bullied her and hated me to the core. Yet, due to his status as an illegitimate child, he had no choice but to swallow his pride and try to please me, because he needed to establish his position in the family through marrying me. Thinking of this, I said, "Let's break up." His pupils suddenly contracted. Why? Give me a reason, Eulalia. I pulled out a tissue and wiped my cheek where he had touched it. One stroke at a time. I don't want to date the son of a mistress. I find it dirty. Is that reason enough? Chapter 5. After leaving, Anna cautiously asked me if I was possessed. I'm not surprised at all that she would ask me that, because when I was in high school, I liked Ethan so openly and passionately. Every day after school, I waited for him to go home together, baked cookies until my hands were full of burns, and still smiled as I gave them to him. My affection was so obvious that the whole world knew. But now it's different. The Eulalia who just started her senior year is already dead. Standing here now is someone who has died once. The love assassin Eulalia. Chapter 6. All day, Jasmine didn't show up again. I know that what she prides herself on the most is that face. If it cannot be fully utilized, it will not be easily used. I am waiting very patiently. Saturday came quickly. My 18th birthday. My parents said early on that they would host a grand banquet to celebrate my coming of age. However, something came up at the company, and they had to be a little late. The crystal chandelier shone brilliantly. I wore a haute couture cocktail dress and walked down the spiral staircase to the living room. From a distance, I saw my brother Santiago. He was dressed in a suit, with an indifferent expression on his face, calling me, Eulalia, come over. I walked over, pretending not to notice the deep gaze of Ethan behind him, and the tearful Jasmine, with a sweet smile. What does brother want me to do? Has he prepared a gift for me? Santiago looked at me coldly for a moment and said, bullying classmates, insulting friends. Eulalia, is this what the Liu family teaches you? His volume did not decrease in the slightest as he spoke. For a moment, all the guests present turned their eyes in this direction. What is brother talking about? I don't understand. I looked at Jasmine and tilted my head. Who did I insult? And when did I ever bully a classmate? I don't even know her. It's too late to deny it now. When you do something wrong, you have to pay the price. Since mom and dad aren't here today, I'll discipline you on their behalf. As he spoke, Santiago pulled a ruler from the antique shelf nearby. He looked at me and sternly said, word by word, kneel down. Chapter 7. In the spacious banquet hall, countless people cast their eyes, eager to watch the drama unfold. What? Bullying a classmate? Even the daughter of the Liu family does such things? Oh, being spoiled and unable to stand others being better than oneself is quite normal. Fortunately, her brother stands for justice and doesn't cover up for her. Under Jasmine's proud and provocative gaze, I straightened my back, smiling. I spoke harshly. What nonsense is brother talking about? Those who know might think you're Santiago. Those who don't might think some ancient wandering ghost has possessed you. In this life, I only kneel to deceased ancestors. I tilted my head, sizing him up and down for a moment, then wickedly laughed. How about this? You go out now and find a building to jump from, and I'll immediately kneel and kowtow 3 times to see you off. Santiago's face suddenly darkened. Jasmine behind him pretended to speak up. Lou, classmate, I know you don't like me, but it's one thing to bully me. How can you say such things to your own brother? She widened her eyes, tears welling up, deliberately putting on a childish yet innocent expression. Beside her, Ethan noticed a trace of inexplicable darkness flashing in his eyes. Then, he spoke in a low voice. Eulalia, since you've made a mistake, just admit it and apologize. There's no need. I also widened my eyes, and said in distress, sorry, I can't understand dog barks. Can you repeat it in human language? Enough, Santiago shouted sternly. Eulalia, as a girl, do you know what shame is? Who taught you to speak so rudely and without manners? He is still the same as before, never believing anything I say. Instead, he repeatedly nails me to the pillar of shame with strong prejudice. I tugged at the corners of my lips, imitating his sneer. Mom and Dad are busy and have no time to care for me. Guess who taught me? Of course, it was you, my dear brother. Chapter 8. In my past life, I was always both afraid of and in love with Santiago. He was several years older than me and was always a stern brother in my heart. When I was young, my parents were busy handling matters in the company, so he was the one who took care of me. If I made even a slight mistake, I would be hit on the palm with a ruler and punished by not being allowed to eat. When I brought home a curly-haired stray puppy I found, he wouldn't let the nanny open the door for me. The filthy thing is not welcome in the house. I just helplessly held the puppy and sat on the steps at the door all night. I was still young at that time. I always thought his personality was just like that, unable to learn the gentle demeanor of other brothers who doted on their sisters. Until Jasmine appeared. That's when I realized, my brother does know how to be gentle. It's just that the person he is gentle with is not me. I saw him sitting in the car handing hot milk to Jasmine, rubbing her hair and saying, make sure to eat 3 meals a day on time. If you don't have enough money, I've got you covered. I also saw Jasmine picking up a frail stray cat on a rainy day, while he held an umbrella for her and softly asked, do you want to keep it? Jasmine grabbed his shirt and babbled nonsense after getting drunk, and he listened patiently, his eyes full of tenderness. In my past life, I was always trapped in the illusion of love. I was confused about why my brother didn't love me and why my fiancé didn't stand by me. It was only after living another life that I suddenly realized, I am a completely independent individual. It's not that without love, one cannot live. Chapter 9. The birthday party ultimately did not end perfectly, because when I stood my ground and confronted Santiago, my parents finally returned. They politely thanked everyone and saw off the guests. Jasmine tried to pull the same trick in front of my mom, continuing to play the victim, but was stopped by a single smile from her. I'm sorry, classmate, but our Lou family matters will be handled by ourselves. Please leave first. Jasmine choked up, almost tearfully glanced at Santiago before turning to leave. When only Santiago and I were left at home, my dad finally spoke with authority. All right, now tell me what exactly happened. Before Santiago could speak, I interrupted. A while ago, a new transfer student came to our school. On the first day, she went crazy and poured water over her own head, insisting that I did it and accused me of bullying her. Later, I found out that this person is the impoverished student my brother has been sponsoring, named Jasmine. Sitting on the sofa, Santiago suddenly looked up at me, his eyes full of shock. Surprised, aren't you, brother? I discovered your secret relationship with her so early on. I pressed my reddened eye corner. My voice choked. Actually, I don't blame her. It's just a birthday. After all, I'm just sad that my brother doesn't believe me. In this world, it's not only Jasmine who can pretend to be innocent. In my tearful voice, my father settled the matter with a final word. All right, no matter who bullied whom, no more fussing. If it escalates and spreads outside, it won't be good for any of you. This matter ends here. Chapter 10. Back at school, I began to openly bully Jasmine, pour ink into her drawer and laugh loudly when she recites the text in accented English, tear her physics test paper into pieces and scatter them over her head. Go ahead. Keep complaining, I said with a smile. Isn't that what you're best at? A piece of torn paper wobbled down from her hair. She looked at me, a flash of deep-seated malice in her eyes. In the end, she was still trembling, crying and apologizing to me, saying, I'm sorry, Lou classmate. If I made you unhappy in any way, I apologize now, and I'll change, okay? Your existence makes me unhappy. I raised an eyebrow curiously. How are you going to make amends? Are you going to die right now? She was speechless, unable to say a single word. In the end, she could only continue crying. For the first time, I realized how exhilarating it is to be a villainess. Of course, she also told the teacher. The teacher called me to the office. I cried as I recounted what happened at the birthday banquet, and finally took out a hospital diagnosis certificate. That day, because she spread rumors, my brother humiliated me in front of so many people. I cry every time I think about it, and even in my sleep, I wake up from nightmares. I'm still seeing a psychologist and taking medication. The doctor says I'm severely depressed. In the end, the teacher had to comfort me instead. Everyone could tell that I didn't like Jasmine. Anna was puzzled. Why are you so against her? Did she do something wrong? I looked up and smiled at her. Can't it be because I'm a bad woman who looks down on new classmates from poor families just because my family is rich? Come on. She rolled her eyes at me. If you were that kind of person, why didn't you bully me? My family is much poorer than hers. On the first day of becoming friends, you wrapped up all my stationery from 3 years of high school. To believe you bullied classmates is harder than believing I am Wu Zetian. I understand this much. Yeah, everyone understands this much. But it's just my brother and the person I like who don't understand. I curved my lips, but there wasn't a trace of a smile in my eyes. Chapter 11. In a month, it will be the school's 100th anniversary ceremony. In her past life, Jasmine performed a piano solo at the school anniversary gala, arranged by Santiago and Ethan. Thus, I was noticed by the special admissions teacher who came to observe, and I was granted the only special admission spot. As for me, I started learning dance at the age of 4 and practiced for more than 10 years. I had also prepared a classical dance. Then Ethan found me. He hugged me in the sunset-lit campus and whispered, Can you not perform, Eulalia? I don't want so many people to see you looking so beautiful. I would get jealous. Just perform for me alone, okay? I was such a fool back then. I was even smug, thinking it was a sign that he cared about me. So on the day of the performance, I really didn't go. In the empty dance classroom, I danced for him over and over again. At the end of the song, cheers like a tidal wave came from the distant auditorium. Ethan heard it and suddenly started to laugh. In front of me, he was always gentle and silent. Even his smile was faint, like it was shrouded in mist. It was the first time I saw him with such obvious emotional fluctuations. So I stopped dancing and foolishly asked, Are you very happy? He paused for a moment and said, Happy. At that time, I thought he was happy because I danced for him alone. It wasn't until much later that I found out. He was happy because Jasmine's performance was a great success. The only light in his life had a bright and brilliant future. Chapter 12. I submitted the dance program I had prepared long ago. But this time, it wasn't a solo dance. I gathered all the girls in the class who were interested in performing and choreographed a group classical dance. I paid for a teacher for everyone, bought the most expensive costumes, and customized the best props. In contrast, Jasmine's white dress piano solo seemed overly simple. I don't know what she cried about in front of Santiago. That night, when I got home from school, he stopped me in the garden. Eulalia. My brother looked at me with a blank expression. For the school anniversary performance, withdraw from your program. I smiled. Santiago. Are you barking like a dog again? Don't think I'm negotiating with you. A hint of cold mockery appeared in Santiago's eyes. If you insist on going, bear the consequences yourself. I stopped in my tracks, staring into his cold eyes. Brother, Has your Jasmine studied piano for over 10 years and still lacks the confidence to compete with me on the same stage? What a waste. You are. Chapter 13. When there were only a few days left until the school anniversary performance, Ethan found me. Eulalia. What happened last time was my fault, but you blocked all my contact information and refused to see me. I don't know what exactly happened. Eulalia. Do you have a misunderstanding about me? Or have you fallen for someone else? When he spoke the last few words, his voice even carried a distinct note of pain. But you clearly said with your own mouth that you would always like me the most. A surge of anger mixed with sharp pain suddenly shot up in my heart. Once upon a time, I genuinely liked him for many years. He said he didn't like me filming kissing scenes, so I really gave up many olive branches extended by famous directors because of that. He said Jasmine had a bad background and was always bullied in the orphanage, so he told me not to hold it against her too much. I forgave her offenses time and time again. I just wanted to exchange sincerity for sincerity. What I got in return, however, was only their slander and hatred that lasted for 10 years. At this moment, I suddenly didn't even want to keep up appearances. Reaching out to grab Ethan's lapel, I pushed him hard against the tree trunk behind him. He gasped in pain, and before he could speak, I slapped him across the face again. I didn't hold back at all. His pale face immediately swelled and turned red. I leaned in close to him and said, word by word, you and Jasmine knew each other long ago. I already know. Don't you like her? Why are you pretending to be affectionate in front of me? You want to use me while being a lapdog for your Jasmine at the same time. You're just as low as your mother, who knowingly became a mistress. As he finished the last word, the emotions in his eyes brewed like a sudden storm, but he could no longer utter a single word. I let out a mocking laugh, released him, and turned to leave. Chapter 14. That night, I had a dream. I rarely dreamed of my past life, of what happened after I died. After the cake knife was plunged into Jasmine's chest, I died in extreme pain, and she was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. Outside the ward, Ethan grabbed Santiago and questioned, you clearly said you would arrange everything, that you would protect her. Santiago brushed off his hand and said coldly, I've already agreed to share her with you. Without my help, can you, an illegitimate child, control the Liu family? Don't push your luck. Ethan staggered a few steps and retorted, is it you who helped me? Clearly, it was. He stopped abruptly halfway through his sentence. Santiago laughed coldly, yes, it was my sister who helped you. But she's already dead. The person who threw acid on her was someone you personally contacted to arrange. Remember? Ethan stood silently in place. The red light above the emergency room door was flashing. A moment later, Jasmine was pushed out. The doctor said, the patient is still not out of danger. Ethan's gaze swept over her pale, bloodless face and trembled slightly. Then he calmly said, I haven't forgotten. I also never regret it. I woke up from the dream, stumbled into the bathroom, and dry heaved over the toilet for a long time. After straightening up, I leaned on the counter and saw myself in the mirror. My eyes, filled with red veins, were brimming with hatred. No regrets. I murmured, it's okay. In this life you will regret it. Regret being born. Just wait and see. Chapter 15. On the day of the school anniversary performance, I ran into Jasmine by the school's artificial lake. She was wearing a modest yet luxurious silver cocktail dress, with an expensive diamond necklace around her neck. I knew very well that it was most likely bought by Santiago to comfort her. Eulalia, do you think the identity of the Liu family's daughter can protect you forever? You've been bullying me for so long. Did you really think I wouldn't fight back? I will make you pay 1,000 times over. So what if you know about the relationship between Ethan and me? He loves me, and your brother loves only me too. Someone like you will never receive anyone's love. She rambled on, and I just smiled and replied with one sentence. Does the toilet water taste good? Then, seeing her face change dramatically, I turned and left. In the evening, the fiery sunset spread inch by inch across the sky. The girls from the dance team and I changed into our performance costumes, lifted our skirts, and hurried from the dance classroom to the backstage area. Halfway there, I I realized that the prop I had prepared for the final curtain call was missing. Did I leave it in the dance classroom? I carefully recalled and decided to go back and look for it. Anna asked, "Do you want me to go with you?" "It's fine. It's not heavy. I can carry it myself," I said with a smile. "You guys go to the backstage to do your makeup first. Then arrange our prop sequence with the set teacher." The vast complex building was empty and desolate. I lifted the hem of my beautiful gilded dress and strode up the stairs, but I stopped just as I was about to reach the floor of the dance classroom. On the steps just a few paces away, there stood a person. The golden red glow of the sunset streamed in from outside the window, yet it only fell on half of his face. Most of his face was shrouded in darkness, with eyes as deep and mysterious as ocean whirlpools. "Ethan." He spoke in a low voice, as if suppressing a storm that was about to break. "Eulalia, what are you doing?" "None of your business. Get lost." I wanted to pass him and step upstairs, but suddenly, a huge force came from my shoulder. My thoughts stalled for a second. By the time I realized it, my body felt light, and I was already falling backward. Behind me were dozens of high steps. I landed on my back, rolling heavily down the steps. Amidst the overwhelming pain, I fell beside the iron railing, and I could almost hear a faint cracking sound from my ankle bone. Ethan walked down the steps one by one, stopping beside me. He still looked at me with those calm yet sorrowful eyes. When he spoke, his voice was utterly indifferent. "Eulalia, don't blame me. You have had everything since birth. Even if you miss this opportunity, there are many paths you can take. But Jasmine is different from you. She has already done her best within her capabilities." After speaking, he grasped my already sprained ankle. He forcefully slammed my calf against the iron railing beside me. Chapter 16. Suddenly, the scenes from my dream flashed in my mind. He stood outside the ward, together with my brother. He looked at Jasmine being wheeled out of the emergency room with eyes full of gentle affection. When mentioning me, the voice was indifferent. "I have never regretted it. The most beautiful 15 years of my life, the most passionate and sincere love, was actually tied to such a person." I suddenly burst into laughter, and just before my calf was about to be forcefully slammed against the railing by him, I abruptly pulled away from his grasp. Waste. The pain from the sprained ankle took my breath away, but I still took advantage of the moment when Ethan hadn't reacted, grabbed his hair fiercely, and slammed it against the railing. "You wretched scum. Dreaming of hurting me again." Ethan's head slammed heavily against the iron railing with a loud thud. His forehead hit the sharp corner, and bright red blood immediately gushed out. It trickled down his cheek, dripping onto his clothes. "Eulalia." I took a couple of breaths, released his hair, and stood up. The sprained ankle continued to send waves of pain, but it didn't matter. I looked down at his pain-blurred eyes and slowly began to smile. How affectionate. "My young master, sacrificing yourself just to let me be ruined here, fighting for a future for your beloved one? Is this the warning Santiago gave me? Have you already planned to share her at this time?" Truly disgusting. I lifted the hem of my dress, rubbing it against his bloodied face until the light-colored fabric was stained and mottled. Then I left him there, running into the grand hall as the sky darkened. From afar, the melodious sound of a piano drifted out from the hall. Jasmine is indeed playing the same piece from her past life, Debussy's Clair de Lune. She sat in front of the pure white piano on stage, wearing a silver cocktail dress. The stage was completely dark around her, with only a spotlight shining on her, like the only spark of a star in the night. Just like in my past life, when she climbed over my blood and flesh at my engagement banquet. She was dazzlingly beautiful. I ran forward along the narrow aisle between the 2 rows of seats, pushing away the security and the host who tried to stop me, leaped onto the stage. Standing in the only beam of light, I kicked over Jasmine and punched the piano. In her stunned and disbelieving gaze, I began to go mad. "Play, play, play. I dare you to play the piano. How dare you send your dog to harm me? And you're still here playing the goddamn piano." Chapter 17. Of course. I know. The special admissions teacher invited by Santiago is sitting in the audience right now. In a past life, after listening to Jasmine's performance of Moonlight, he contacted her just as the performance ended. asking if she would accept the only specially approved admission spot. Jasmine agreed. This was just the first step in the bright future that lay ahead of her. Later, under Santiago's careful arrangement, she was taken in as the last disciple by a master of the music world at the school. Due to filming, I have to play the role of a genius pianist girl with autism. Under the agent's arrangement, I went to learn from that master. However, I only had a brief encounter with Jasmine. When I got home in the evening, I was blocked at the door by Santiago. He looked at me with disgust. Eulalia, are you ever going to stop? Just because you are not as good as Jasmine. Do you hate her so much that you even tore up the sheet music she hand-copied for the teacher? What a bad seed. I was bewildered for a few seconds, and when I realized it, I instinctively wanted to defend myself, but he interrupted me with a wave of his hand, full of lies. I won't believe a single word of your excuses. Amidst the uproar from the audience, I heard someone screaming, "Blood! Look at all the blood on her skirt." A mottled skirt stained with blood and dust, disheveled hair, and a swollen ankle. Every detail on my body confirms the truth of what I said. Jasmine steadied herself on the piano bench and stumbled to her feet. The look in her eyes was filled with deep-seated resentment and hatred, swirling for a moment before returning to her usual weak and innocent demeanor. "Lou, classmate, I don't know what you're talking about. There might be some misunderstanding, but this is my performance now, and out of respect for the audience, you shouldn't have rushed up here so recklessly." Santiago stood up angrily from the audience and loudly rebuked me. "Eulalia, you're crazy." I ignored it, brushed past Jasmine, and sat down on the piano bench. I started playing Beethoven's Symphony of Fate. In my past life, to play genuinely in the movie, without a hand double, I solidly learned this piece for 3 months. Not proficient, but in such a scene, it was already enough. The passionate piano sound, accompanied by a slight electric hum, resonated under the vast dome of the auditorium. After finishing a piece of Fate, I turned around and stared at her, speaking with a resounding voice. "You ruined my birthday party, sowed discord between my brother and me, and spread rumors about me in front of my family and friends. These are minor things. I will repay you in my own way. But you instructed Ethan to push me down the stairs, hoping to break my leg just to keep me off the stage." I paused for a moment, staring at her suddenly pale face, and let out a mocking laugh. "The piano is your most prized possession, yet you don't even have the confidence to compete with me on the same stage?" Chapter 18. The stage and the audience were in chaos. Finally, the teacher in charge of the school anniversary performance took Jasmine and me off the stage. The host came up to smooth things over. "The next program is the group classical dance we arranged." I brushed past the girls participating in the performance backstage. Anna came rushing over with tears in her eyes, grabbing my hand. "Are you hurt? I should have gone with you." "I'm fine." I smiled and patted her head to comfort her. "Go perform. You've rehearsed for so long. Give yourself a satisfactory answer sheet. The first place in the school celebration performance can receive a prize of 100,000 yuan. From the very beginning, this dance was not choreographed for myself. Watching them walk onto the stage, I felt a weight lifted off my mind. Then I closed my eyes amidst the intense pain and fatigue surging through my body. Even my consciousness was submerged in darkness. I woke up in the hospital. That night, Santiago burst into the ward. "Madwoman Eulalia, you're just a madwoman." He wanted to proceed step by step, to gradually send his beloved to a dazzling position, just like nurturing a flower to bloom with your own hands. It brings immense satisfaction. "But, brother, how could I give you such an opportunity? What should we do, brother? Your little white lotus didn't even finish playing the piece, and your plan to break my leg has been exposed. She can no longer attend the school she wanted to go to." I suddenly remembered something again. "By the way, your accomplice Ethan is still lying on the floor of the complex building. If you have time, remember to send him to the hospital." I clutched the corner of the quilt and laughed, pulling at the wound on my ankle, causing my facial features to twist slightly in pain. In the reflection of his pupils, I saw what I look like now, looking like a madman, or perhaps I have been a madman since the day I died in a past life. Santiago's facial muscles twitched slightly, and a flash of anger flickered in his eyes. Upon looking again, He had returned to his usual indifference and superiority. Is it useful? Eulalia. Even if Jasmine's performance failed, you didn't get to dance your dance. Not only that, but your crazy appearance was completely recorded by the camera next to you. This time, you can't just fool everyone with a fake diagnosis. The school has already contacted mom and dad, and they're preparing to expel you. Ha ha ha. I laughed. It's just a suspension. Do you think I care about that? Santiago. Don't forget. Like you, I'm also a child of the Liu family. Just like Ethan said, if this path is blocked, I have many others to take. From the beginning, my only goal was to bring Jasmine down. Nothing more. In my past life, she falsely accused me of many things, so I simply made them all come true. The paths she walked in her past life, I will block them all for her. The score between us isn't settled yet. Jasmine. Chapter 19. In front of everyone, I caused a scene at the school anniversary ceremony and even hit Ethan and Jasmine. Even the previous bullying of Jasmine at school was spread online. It stirred up quite a public uproar. The conflict between the rich family's daughter and the poor girl has always been a hot topic, whether 10 years ago or 10 years later. The difference is, this time, because of my clear and articulate speech on stage, a sorry sight, and that chapter of fate filled with extreme anger and madness, quite a few people stood by my side. It's not necessarily the case that a rich girl is bullying the poor, right? Listening to her piano playing, she doesn't seem like that kind of person. That's hilarious. Are you a paid commenter? Can you really predict fate with piano music? No. Putting everything else aside, just look at her. Her ankle is swollen like a loaf of bread, and she's covered in blood. Who would bully others and end up like this themselves? Let's not talk about anything else. This girl has a beautifully advanced mental state, 8 versions ahead of the times. In the end, Anna and the girls who danced with me went to argue with the online friend. Eulalia is not like what you said. It was Jasmine who first acted provocatively towards her. The online argument was intense. During the days I stayed in the hospital, I didn't know what Santiago told Dad. Anyway, on the day I was discharged and went home, he looked at me with an extremely cold attitude. I haven't been supervising you for a while, and you've become so unruly. Since your school won't let you continue studying there, you should go abroad to study. Hide for a few years, and come back when the storm has passed. I am not surprised at all by his attitude, because between Santiago and me, he will always favor his son. When the incident at the engagement banquet in my past life happened, my dad was still alive. It's impossible for Santiago to pull off such a big move without him knowing, but until I died, he never told me anything. But it doesn't matter. I tugged at the corner of my lips. All right. You've always wanted to learn acting. I'll help you contact someone to apply to an art school. No, I suddenly spoke up. I want to study finance and pursue business studies. The 2 people in front of me were taken aback. When my dad looked at me again, there was a growing depth in his eyes. Chapter 20. My school application was processed quickly. Ethan's injuries were much more severe than mine. Even after I recovered, he was still lying in the hospital. I heard Jasmine went to see him and comforted him, saying it wasn't his fault, but that you were too heartless. Anna brought a large bouquet of lilies of the valley to visit me at home. The old man and woman are a pair. They were the ones who wanted to break your leg. May I ask where you were heartless? I glanced at the flowers in her hand. These are expensive, right? The bonus is for you to keep for yourselves. It's okay. Everyone knows you're going abroad. So each of us contributed a bit and specifically asked me to buy these to see you off. She shoved the flowers into my hand, took a deep breath, as if she had made some kind of decision. Eulalia. I always feel like you know something I don't. Ever since that day Jasmine transferred here, something's been different. I don't know how to put it. If you don't understand, just consider it my rambling. She avoided the bouquet and cautiously came over to give me a hug. Come back soon. When you return to the country, I'll still be your friend. The night before leaving, my mom and I sat on the balcony as the evening breeze brushed past. She looked at me, wanting to say something but holding back. I held her hand and gazed into her eyes. Mom, don't worry about me. In my past life, my mom died in a car accident. When she was around, no matter how biased my dad was, Santiago didn't dare to directly target me with deadly intent. Thinking of this, my heart suddenly chilled. In my past life, towards the end, Santiago was almost driven mad by love for Jasmine. Could there be more to my mom's sudden car accident than meets the eye? Thinking of this, a chill ran through my heart, and I subconsciously tightened my grip on her hand. You must be very careful and protect yourself. After a pause, I still said, be careful, Santiago. Eulalia, you seem different from before. My mom stared at me blankly and sighed. It was my negligence. I used to be so naive, believing whatever others said. I told you that Lee family's boy was unreliable, but you argued with me, saying he wasn't. What you said, on your birthday, I asked your dad for shares on your behalf, and you undermined me, saying jewelry and little dresses would be fine. It made me so angry. At that time, I hoped you could be a little smarter, a little more clever. But if what you are now came at a terrible cost, I would rather you remain naive. How could there be a mother in this world who doesn't understand her own child? In my past life, I was naive and always assumed the best intentions in others. So I was deceived by Jasmine countless times. Yet I never truly took ruthless action against her. So in the end, I died at my own engagement banquet. No, Mom. I pressed my reddened eyes and let out a light laugh. In this world of the survival of the fittest, the naive and sweet are only meant to be devoured. Unfortunately, I only understood this truth after dying once. Chapter 21. The year I went abroad with my suitcase. I was 18. The surrounding environment and everything I could come into contact with were completely unfamiliar. But I didn't feel afraid at all, because I knew too much about what would happen next. Even though the details are unclear, just a few major turning points in time are enough for me to do many things. The most important is 2 years later. In my past life, when I was 20 years old, Santiago got some information from certain channels, flew to San Francisco personally, and reached a collaboration with a man named Simon. That man held the most cutting-edge core technology. In the next 5 years, he helped Santiago gradually and completely take control of the Lu Corporation. I invested the money my mom gave me into the stock market, using the remnants of memories from my past life to multiply the seed capital many times over. Then at school, while taking courses with double the time, I invested money in several companies that later became part of the Fortune Global 500 in my past life. At this time, many of them were still in the startup phase. During this period, Anna contacted me many times. Every week, she would send a voice message on time, first telling me that after I left, the dance team members missed me a lot. She also said that with the bonus she received, life had become much better. The message said, recently, a university had independent admissions. Jasmine participated, but she was eliminated during the interview. It was particularly funny because the teacher responsible for the interview was also at our school anniversary performance that day. She said, Jasmine's performance of Moonlight was completely murky, nowhere near your fate. You have no idea. Jasmine came out holding Santiago and cried so sadly, while I laughed so brightly. The college entrance exam results are out. I ranked first in the school and third in the city. When I received this message, I was being tormented by the final exams for my double major, but I still showed a genuine smile. Congratulations, Eulalia. I'm still waiting for you to come back and continue being friends with me. My mom often calls to tell me about Santiago's recent activities, asking how I'm doing alone out here and if I have enough money. Then, as I revealed a little about my current situation, she sighed with relief and helplessness. You're still a young girl. Don't push yourself too hard, she said. If there's anything you need help with, tell Mom. Don't feel embarrassed. So I told her Simon's name, and some things I remembered, asking her to help me look into someone. You must keep it a secret from my brother. Chapter 22. I arrived in San Francisco a month earlier than Santiago. Outside that school, I was about to ask someone for directions when I suddenly saw a familiar face on the lawn not far away. A much younger-looking Simon. In front of him stood a tall, slender girl with short hair and glasses. Looking at him coldly, That is my experimental result. Who allowed you to discuss business cooperation with others without my permission? Simon accompanied with a smile. What's yours or mine? Isn't it something we both worked on together? The idea was mine. The experiment was done by me. You just assisted for a while and helped record some data. How do you think you have the right to handle my things? The girl did not give an inch. Hearing her say that, Simon's expression also darkened. Elise, don't go too far. We're about to graduate soon. Am I not considering our future? What's the use of holding on to things? Isn't it better to find a reliable company to collaborate with for development to gain the most benefit? I'll say it one last time. That is my stuff. The girl named Elise looked at him indifferently. The patent is in my hands, and you don't even know the core technology, yet you want to find someone to develop and collaborate? As long as I'm alive. That's impossible. Also, we are breaking up. From now on, you have nothing to do with me. She turned around and walked away. Simon stood there, staring at her back, his eyes gradually turning cold. A hint of fierce killing intent almost flashed in his pupils. I stood there, suddenly realizing, in a past life, I once heard Jasmine ask Santiago how he managed to keep someone like Simon under control. At that time, Santiago had his arm around her as they sat by the pool, and he smiled at her words. Because he needs my help with something. More importantly, in my past life, I had never heard of Elise. Chapter 23. I found a way to meet with Elise, in a cafe far from their school. She sat down across from me, straight to the point. Ms. Lou, I know why you're here, but my things are not for sale. Why? She hesitated for a moment, then spoke. Currently, it's just a semi-finished product. The motion of bringing the coffee cup to my lips suddenly paused. I know you business people care about commercial value, but I don't care. I only care about the results I can ultimately achieve and how they can revolutionize human technology. To me, that is what truly matters. I stared at her intently. When she spoke of her ideals, her bare face radiated an indescribable brilliance. She was a very dazzling girl. She should have also become a great scientist remembered throughout history. But in her past life, because of the selfish desires of two men, she died in a foreign country, like a speck of dust disappearing under the wheels of history. Miss Lou, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave now. I suddenly reached out to stop her in front of me. Looking at her sincerely, Miss Elise, I am willing to provide all the funding and other resources needed for your research, and you only need to do me a small favor once you have the finished product. Your achievements will still belong to you, and history will record your name. Is that acceptable? Chapter 24. The day I returned to the country. The first snow fell gently, covering the ground. As I walked out of the airport with my suitcase, I immediately saw the billboard beside me. There, prominently, was Jasmine's exquisitely made-up face. In recent years, while I was busy abroad establishing a company to compete with Santiago, who was gradually taking over the Lu Corporation, he wasn't idle either. After failing to be specially recruited and also failing the interview, Jasmine was still managed to be sent to film school by him, successfully debuting in the entertainment industry. She really is consistent. I laughed mockingly and got into the car. Through the thin snow-covered traffic, the car drove straight to the company building. The bidding meeting 3 days later is yet another crucial milestone. Elise and I spent 3 days at the company, ensuring the plan was optimized to the best. Then, at the public bidding site, we secured the deal without any suspense. When the winning company was announced, I stood up from my seat, meeting Santiago's shocked gaze beside me. Eulalia. I curved my lips. Long time no see, brother. At the end, he chased me all the way out and cornered me in the hallway. His tone still carried a hint of disbelief. Tulip is your company? After Elise disappeared, you hid her, didn't you? You're in such a hurry, Santiago. I burst into laughter. What do you mean I hid her? You don't even know her. So why are you so obsessed with finding a living person? Are you planning to do something illegal or criminal? Then, under his suddenly sharp gaze, I left laughing. This time returning to the country, I was extremely high profile. After securing the contract, I started networking everywhere and met many famous figures in the business world. Because I hold the exclusive patent rights for Elise and just snatched a major project from the Lu Corporation. Everyone is very polite to me. Extremely friendly. This is something I never experienced in my past life. Even after winning 3 Best Actress awards. People, after all, need to control the means of production. I raised my glass of red wine and remarked. Anna beside me turned her head and looked me up and down. Why do I feel like you've only been gone for 4 years? But you've matured as if by 10? It's quite normal, I suppose. Considering at 18 you can act recklessly because of youth. I said. Now that I've graduated from university, before baring my fangs at people, I must first put on a facade of decency. After speaking, I raised the sign in my hand and shouted the price. 2 million. Jasmine, sitting in the front row, suddenly turned her head. Ethan, sitting next to her, also looked at me. The moment our eyes met, he was slightly dazed. I keenly noticed the faint scar on his forehead. Suddenly, I found it particularly interesting. 2,600,000. Coming back to his senses, he raised his sign without hesitation, starting to bid against me. I knew that this diamond-encrusted bracelet was the gift he intended to win for Jasmine, because in a few days, it will be Jasmine's birthday. Even if he used every means to barely gain some say in the Lee family's company, it was far from Santiago's complete control over the Liu family's dominance. To compete for favor, one could only seek other ways to please. I accompanied him all the way, watching him spend 6 million to bid on that bracelet. He laughed. The feelings are truly deep. Ethan held the bracelet, silently looking at me. After a long while, he softly called out, Eulalia, stop calling me. I'm going to throw up. I exaggeratedly took a step back, looking him up and down. After a moment, I let out a light scoff. Unlike your stepmother who became a mistress, at least she succeeded in climbing up. I just don't know how you and my brother usually schedule your time to spend with Jasmine. You take Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and he takes Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, then spend Sunday together? I made no attempt to conceal my volume when I said this. Sure enough, as soon as the auction ended, business friends came to ask me what was going on. I looked troubled. My brother and that illegitimate child from the Lee family both fell for the same little celebrity. Oh well, it's just that. Who doesn't have a lovesick person in their family? For true love, you can endure anything, not only spreading rumors about the 3 of them. I also brought funds to enter the film and television industry, promoting new female stars, snatching several key roles from her past life out of Jasmine's hands. How could Santiago tolerate his Jasmine suffering such grievances outside? He decisively took action against me. Perfect. This is exactly what I was waiting for. If he doesn't act, how can he expose his flaws? Chapter 25. My name suddenly appeared on the trending searches along with the company. Hashtag Tulip founder Eulalia campus bullying. Hashtag Eulalia spreading false rumors. Hashtag Jasmine was bullied. The video of me smashing Jasmine's piano during the school anniversary performance was released again. But this time, the part where I played Fate was cut off. Not only that, they also contacted classmates from the senior year to prove that I did bully Jasmine at school. Yes, at that time Eulalia really didn't like Jasmine, tore her papers, poured ink into her drawer, and led the whole class of girls to isolate her. In the video, that boy looked indignant. But because she is a rich family's daughter, Jasmine couldn't do anything about her and had to endure any grievances. Later, when things got out of hand, the school expelled her, and she ended up going abroad to study and enhance her credentials. Now, she has transformed into the founder of an emerging company. The company's stock price has been falling for several days. Several partners called, tactfully asking me what was going on. I know that if I don't give them a satisfactory answer, the cooperation will be halted. Please wait a little longer. I twirled the pen in my hand, smiling as I bantered with them. We're all business people here, and we all know that without a sure bet, we shouldn't act rashly. Fortunately, Jasmine wasn't as composed as I thought. She hates me even more than in my past life, and now that my reputation is bad, she sees the opportunity to come forward. She talked about this during a live broadcast. I remember at that time, The teacher asked me to stand up and read the text because I attended elementary school in the village. One teacher had to teach many subjects, and they taught mute English. It's a bit embarrassing to say, but when she laughed, it was the first time I realized that my pronunciation was not standard. For that school anniversary performance, I also prepared seriously for a long time. I had been learning piano for so many years. Her tone seemed calm, but by the end, her eyes were glistening with tears. The barrage of comments, whether from onlookers or hired trolls by Santiago, kept flooding in. "Girl, you have nothing to be ashamed of. You've already done great." It's shameless of her not to consider her own background. What right does she have to mock ordinary people who work hard? Wait, am I the only one who noticed she said there were no English teachers in her village school, yet she learned piano for over 10 years? Aren't these two statements contradictory? I saw the last comment and couldn't help but laugh out loud. But that comment just flashed by and was quickly drowned in a sea of words. The live broadcast that day had over 5 million viewers online. The next day, my dad called me back and sternly ordered me to merge Tulip with Lu Corporation. After studying abroad for 4 years, you haven't made any progress. You've only been back for a few days, and it's already a mess. Hurry up and hand the company back to the family and publicly apologize. I quietly looked at him. Dad, get it straight. It's my brother's girlfriend. It was something a friend did. Not a problem with my company. That was because you bullied them first. He slammed the table and glared. If you don't listen, just consider that I never had a daughter like you. I smiled and said, sorry, but you really didn't give birth to me. It was my mom who carried and gave birth to me. Soon, Lu and Lee announced a collaboration. The two families joined forces to attack my company, snatching several major projects from Tulip. My dad publicly declared he would sever our father-daughter relationship, saying he didn't have such a vicious daughter. In the company's parking lot, I was nearly splashed with acid by Jasmine's extreme fan. He is secretly discussing with my dad about using the incident when I went crazy in high school and that diagnosis certificate to simply send me to a mental hospital, in both past and present lives. These are the only dirty tricks. Then my counterattack is about to begin. Dear brother, Chapter 26. Watching myself being defeated step by step, with no power to fight back. At this very moment, Jasmine won her first Best Actress award, and her birthday is approaching. Santiago held a grand celebration party for her. The venue was lavishly decorated, inviting many of her fans, and even hosted a live stream. Jasmine wore a white cocktail dress and softly thanked her fans. The next segment was to play the blessing videos recorded by her fans. On the big screen behind her, the footage flashed. It was somewhat blurry, with a hidden angle, as if someone had secretly filmed it. In the makeup room on set, another actress was fixing her makeup in front of the mirror, when Jasmine suddenly bumped into her. She grabbed her hand and slapped herself in the face. Then, under the astonished gaze of the actress, she started to laugh. Who allowed you to compete with me for the role I wanted? And you dare to make me your supporting actress? Do you know who my boyfriend is? CEO Santiago. When my boyfriend sees the injury on my face, you better think about how you're going to apologize to me. No, you should think about how you'll make a living after your bullying video from the set is released and you're blacklisted. The final scene is her staring at the actress's chest, smiling with a hidden meaning. No. Jasmine let out a scream and rushed over to try to block the big screen, but it was to no avail. The fans at the scene were already in an uproar. Amidst the chaos, Jasmine and Santiago's names were rapidly trending. Hashtag Jasmine my boyfriend is Santiago. Hashtag Jasmine birthday livestream. Hashtag Jasmine was bullied again. The number of comments was rising at an astonishing speed. Anna sat next to me, frantically typing on her phone. Miss Jasmine, why do you get bullied wherever you go? Is the whole world against you? Then it was liked to the top comment. Oh my god. She hit herself with someone else's hand. She really went for it. Her face is all swollen. If it wasn't swollen, how could she prove that someone bullied her? Don't call her Jasmine anymore. Change her name to Masochist instead. If I remember correctly, the Best Actress award she won was for a movie where she wasn't originally cast as the lead. It was another actress who was quite popular before her scandalous photos were leaked, and then she was blacklisted. couldn't get the role through auditions, so she resorted to slander and spreading obscene rumors. Right? Chapter 27. Amidst the heated discussions, another video went viral. It was recorded at a university abroad, filled with foreigners of various hair and eye colors. They burst into laughter after a student's speech, mimicking her less-than-perfect pronunciation. The skinny blonde guy leading the mockery recited it in a perfect accent, saying, "Do you know what this is? This is the standard British accent. Joker." Then I grabbed him by the collar and punched him in the face. I cursed back in a standard accent. Laugh, laugh, laugh. What's so funny? Is this how you laughed at your dad's funeral? The other party was furious, yelling that they wanted to challenge me to a duel. The video uploader is an amateur international student. I am also a girl born in the mountains, almost thrown into the stove by my grandmother to be burned right after I was born. But unlike Ms. Jasmine, there was no piano in our village, nor was there a kind sponsor who gave me tens of thousands of yuan a month for living expenses. There was only me, who took almost 30 years to muster the courage to go out and see the world, only to be ridiculed on my first day of studying abroad. I just can't stand seeing someone distort the truth and don't want the people who helped me to be slandered like this. The online friends in the comments section were all talking at once. Did I see that right? Is this the same Eulalia who was previously accused by Jasmine of bullying her and mocking her English pronunciation? Finally, someone said it. Whose village kid learns piano for over 10 years? The logic doesn't even add up. Yet so many people believe it. Wow. Sister is so cool. Sponsor? Isn't Jasmine's sponsor Santiago, Eulalia's brother? Who knows if he's trying to compete with his sister for inheritance and deliberately slandering her? Then there's the video from my 18th birthday. The surveillance footage of Jasmine jumping off the rooftop herself to get funding, falsely accusing another girl from the orphanage of pushing her. The evidence of Santiago hiring a hitman to kill Elise was not just an attempt to expand the Lu Corporation and seize projects. He and my dad secretly committed countless unspeakable deeds. I owe it to my mom for getting these. The last one is Ethan. He mentally controlled his biological mother for 7 years, forcing her to commit suicide in front of his biological father. Using my biological mother's life, I exchanged it for a chance to enter the Lee family. I spent a lot of money, piecing together clues from past and present lives, and then sent each collected item trending. Thanks to their previous actions, countless people were already following the developments of this feud, involving illegal activities. It instantly caused an uproar. The onlookers hurriedly reported it to the police. They no longer had any room to suppress the situation. Those who try to manipulate public opinion will ultimately be destroyed by it. Are you satisfied with this ending? Chapter 28. The day my dad and Santiago were taken away by the police, my mom threw out a divorce agreement. Santiago couldn't believe it and shouted at her, "Mom, am I not your son? Why are you favoring Eulalia? I am also your child. Your dad favors you, and I favor your sister." My mom sighed softly, sat down in front of him, and took a sip of black tea. Things in this world are always fair, aren't they? The projects that Lu and Lee collaborated on, which they snatched from me, have successively gone bust. Their list of charges now includes economic crimes. I took over the severely weakened Lu and merged it into Tulip. Then I went to meet with Freya, who had regained control of Lee. She is Ethan's older half-sister. Her parents had a business marriage. When I was young, I hated that woman, thinking she ruined my family. Later, I realized that if my dad hadn't cheated, Ethan wouldn't even exist in this world. She picked up the coffee cup. Dying at the hands of her own son is her retribution. I contacted her a year ago and reached a collaboration. I will help her drive Ethan out of Lee Corporation, allowing her to take full control. The premise is that she needs to help me with many resource exchanges domestically, including this trending topic and public opinion battle. Much of it is Freya's handiwork. However, I'm curious, how did you guess that his mother's suicide was related to him? I smiled and said nothing, because in my past life, he did the same to me. Chapter 29. Before the verdict came down, I made a point to visit my old acquaintances in prison. The first one I saw was my brother. He stared at me intently. I smiled. "Don't look at me like that, brother. I know what you want to ask. Being chased out like a stray dog. I've already experienced that once. You don't think that all these years, I've just been living a life of debauchery abroad, do you? During the most exhausting period, I could barely close my eyes for a moment each day. Besides attending classes and dealing with company matters, I was also busy networking with various contacts. From the clues of past lives, find evidence of these three people's wrongdoing, because their methods are so skillful and leave no room for error. I believe it wasn't the first time. Villains can't only be evil in front of me. In places I can't see, the darkness they bring must be even more. I guessed right. Santiago. Dad always says I'm not like his daughter. He taught you to be a domineering bandit, willing to use any means to achieve your goals, disregarding the law. Fortunately, I'm not like him. The second person I went to see was Jasmine. Her hair was disheveled, and her eyes were haggard. Through the glass, their eyes were filled with a hatred so intense it seemed they wanted to devour me. She could no longer pretend to be Jasmine and hysterically asked me why I didn't present the evidence earlier if I had it all along. Is it fun to pretend to be the victim? Of course. It's fun. Isn't it just like learning from you? Otherwise, how could you have pretended for so long? I stood up. Of course. It's more interesting to let you think you've already won. I could have released this information earlier, but that wouldn't be enough. Let her think she's won a great victory. And then, arrived at everything. Then, on the eve of dawn, watched everything turn to ashes. This is what I experienced in my past life. This time, it's your turn. Chapter 30. The last person I went to see was Ethan. Actually, I didn't want to see him. Jasmine and I were enemies from start to finish, and Santiago and I shared a blood connection. And Ethan, after my love for him vanished, he had nothing to do with me. But the police told me that Ethan wanted to see me. So, separated by a pane of glass, I sat down face to face with him. He silently looked at me for a long time, until I stood up somewhat impatiently. What exactly do you want from me? It's clearly not like this. He spoke in a low voice. Lou family should be mine, and we should be engaged. I paused in my steps and suddenly turned my head back. He stared at me intently, an inscrutable light flickering in his dark pupils. I looked at his face, and if it weren't for the faint scar on his forehead, for a moment, I almost thought I saw the past life's Ethan. Coming back to my senses, I only felt it was absurd and laughable. Just an engagement? Why don't you talk about what happened afterward? You relied on me to get everything from the Lou family, and then you teamed up with Santiago to kill me. But, a long, long time later, I regretted it. He said hoarsely, but, you already don't know. I really wish you could know. It's too absurd. It's too ridiculous. Yes, I'm already dead. Of course. I don't know. I turned around, leaning against the glass, looking at him, and said word by word. But even if I knew, what difference would it make? Who cares about your regret? This time, the winner is me, and the one going to hell is you. Ethan, this is what you deserve. Chapter 31. The winter came early this year. When I left, the sky outside had already turned dark. Elise called, saying she would go abroad after the new year to start a new experiment at the research institute. I agreed and wished her a safe journey. After the call ended, there was a message from Anna on WeChat, saying she was already seated at the hot pot restaurant and asked me to hurry over to pay the bill. I replied with a smile and said okay. Outside the car window, a crescent moon hung high in the sky, illuminating a corner of the ink-like night. When this night passes, the moon will set, my sun will rise again,